You sit at a small wooden table. A bowl of broth rests before you, steaming in the cool evening air. You reach for a small jar, lift your spoon, and let a crimson dollop of chili paste fall into the soup. You take a bite. The heat hits the back of your throat, a sharp, bright fire that makes your pulse quicken and your brow sweat. It is a sensation you know well, a common thrill, a cheap, everyday heat found in street carts in Bangkok, roadside diners in Texas, and bustling night markets in Seoul. But look closer at that fleck of red floating in your bowl. You're not just eating a simple condiment. You're tasting a conqueror. You're consuming a botanical renegade that hijacked the global trade network, defied the most powerful maritime empires of the 16th century, and completely rewrote the culinary DNA of the planet. Long before it was bottled, dried, or dashed onto your plate, this tiny fruit was bound to a single isolated hemisphere. To understand how it set the world on fire, you must leave the comfort of your kitchen. You must travel back beneath the dense emerald canopies of the ancient Americas. The year is 6000 BCE. You're walking through the rugged, high-altitude valleys of what is now Bolivia. The air is thin, the soil is unforgiving. Here, growing wild among the shrubs, are small, upright berries, bright red and deceptively beautiful. They are not meant for you. Their heat is a biological armor, an evolutionary trick designed by nature to deter mammals with crushing teeth, while allowing birds who feel no burn to swallow them whole and scatter their seeds across the valleys. But human curiosity is a powerful force. You pluck one. You bite into it. The pain is immediate, fierce, and blinding. Yet, as the fire fades, a strange rush of euphoria follows. The human brain, tricked into thinking the body has been burned, unleashes a flood of endorphins. You do not spit it out. You want more. Fast forward thousands of years to the height of the Aztec Empire. You're standing in the massive sun-drenched market of Tenochtitlan. The air is thick with the smell of roasting cacao, maize, and wood smoke. Before you, laid out on vast woven mats, are mounds of chilies. They have been selectively bred over millennia by the indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica. Jalapenos, poblanos, habaneros. They are no longer just wild berries. They are currency. They are medicine. They are even weapons of war thrown into raging fires to create choking, and when weaponized smoke against approaching enemies. For thousands of years, the chili is the undisputed king of the American diet. But its reign is strictly local. Across the great oceans, the rest of the world eats in the dark, completely unaware of the fire waiting in the west. Then the winds of history shift. It is the autumn of 1492. You are standing on the swaying timber deck of a Spanish caravel, salt spray stinging your face. Christopher Columbus has sailed west, desperate to find a shortcut to the legendary spice markets of India. He's hunting for black pepper, the black gold that funds armies and builds palaces in Europe. Instead, he crashes into an island in the Caribbean. He finds no silk, no cloves, no black peppercorns, but the Taino people offer him a small pungent pod. He tastes it. The heat bites his tongue. Desperate to justify his immensely expensive voyage to the Spanish crown, Columbus makes a deliberate world-changing mistake. He calls this fiery fruit a pepper. You watch as the chili is loaded into the damp holds of wooden galleons, beginning its first great crossing of the Atlantic Ocean. When it arrives in Spain, the royalty is profoundly unimpressed. They want the musky, refined bite of the East, not this aggressive, searing fire from the New World. The chili is relegated to the quiet gardens of Spanish monasteries, grown as a mere botanical curiosity. If its journey had ended there, it would be nothing more than a footnote in European history. But the chili is not a fragile, demanding aristocrat like black pepper or saffron. It is a survivor. It is a weed that thrives in poor soil, or demanding almost nothing and giving so much. And the Portuguese are watching. The year is 1510. You have joined the crew of a Portuguese carrack, a massive trading vessel with billowing square sails adorned with the Red Cross of the Order of Christ. The Portuguese have cracked the code of the oceans, they have rounded the brutal Cape of Good Hope, and established a maritime empire stretching from Lisbon all the way to India. In their cargo holds, alongside heavy silver and iron cannons, are the seeds of the New World chili. You endure months of scurvy, brutal storms, and the constant threat of pirates. Finally, you drop anchor in the warm, humid port of Goa, India. This is where the world splits open. You step off the ship into a bustling Indian market. The air is heavy with the scent of cardamom, cinnamon, and ginger. Native black pepper has ruled this land for centuries, but black pepper is expensive, tightly controlled by wealthy merchants and powerful rajas. The Portuguese sailors, looking to barter, trade their humble chili seeds to local farmers, and something miraculous happens. The chili seed touches the Indian soil and it catches fire. Unlike exotic spices that require specific, delicate climates, the chili grows easily in the blazing sun of the subcontinent. Within a single generation, you witness a culinary revolution. You see poor farmers, who could never afford black pepper, harvesting baskets of vibrant red chilies from their own backyards. It becomes the spice of the people. It democratizes flavor. It sweeps through the subcontinent like a monsoon, forever transforming the curries and stews of India. But the chili does not stop there. It is a restless traveller. You follow the spice ships further east. The chili rides the monsoon winds across the Bay of Bengal to the shores of Siam. You see it crushed into vibrant pastes with lemongrass and galangal, giving birth to the blistering green and red curries of Thailand. It sails through the Strait of Malacca to the volcanic islands of Indonesia, mingling with shrimp paste and palm sugar to create the world's first fiery sambals. Then, you travel overland. You join a caravan of weary merchants leading camels along the treacherous mountain passes of the Silk Road. The chili is in their saddlebags. It crosses the harsh, sweeping deserts of Central Asia. It reaches the towering gates of the Ottoman Empire, where it is ground into crimson flakes that coat roasting meats in the bazaars of Istanbul. It crosses the freezing rivers of the Yalu, arriving in the isolated kingdom of Korea, where it is buried in clay pots with fermented cabbage, creating the spicy red kimchi that will one day define an entire nation. Finally, you walk through the misty terraced mountains of Sichuan, China. The year is 1700. The locals here have long relied on the unique, numbing tingle of the local Sichuan peppercorn to flavour their food. But when the New World chili arrives, travelling up the mighty Yangtze River on wooden merchant junks, it is an absolute revelation. You watch a local cook toss dried red chilies into a wok of sizzling oil alongside the numbing native peppercorns. The smoke billows up, fragrant and choking. The marriage of Malar, the numbing and the spicy, is born. Stop for a moment and look at the vast map you have just traversed. In less than 2 centuries, a mere blink of an eye in human history, this tiny, fiery berry achieved what no emperor, no marching army, and no royal decree ever could. It conquered the entire globe. But it did not conquer through bloodshed or forced submission. It conquered through sheer desire. It exploited our human craving for intensity, for flavour, for that fleeting, euphoric rush of surviving the burn. The chili pepper redrew the economic borders of the world. It bypassed the elite monopolies of Venice and the Arab spice traders. It broke the iron stranglehold of the rich. Black pepper may have built the stone mansions of Europe, but the chili fed the sprawling masses of the earth. It became so deeply embedded in the soil and soul of Asia, Africa, and the Middle East that for centuries people completely forgot where it came from. Indian merchants, Thai cooks, and Hungarian farmers all believed the chili was their own native birthright. It became the ultimate culinary phantom, blending so perfectly into local cultures that its foreign origins vanished into the smoke of 1,000 hearths. Now, bring your focus back across the oceans, back across the centuries, back to the wooden table, the steaming bowl, the quiet room. You lift your spoon again. The heat on your tongue is not just a chemical reaction. It is an echo. It is the living legacy of ancient Aztec markets, the desperation of lost Spanish explorers, the courage of Portuguese sailors, and the quiet ingenuity of millions of unnamed farmers across the Silk Road. You're tasting the Great Columbian Exchange. You're tasting the first true globalization of the world, perfectly distilled into a single drop of red oil. It is a simple, cheap thrill found in every kitchen on earth. But history is rarely shaped by the mild, the safe, or the ordinary. Sometimes history is written in fire.